Hello and welcome to the Print dashboard. It's going to be all electric this episode. Why? Because A, India has found deposits of lithium in Jammu and Kashmir. B, we are going to talk about the first drive impressions of the Hyundai Ioniq 5. And 3, the Print's auto expert Kushan Mitra was in Hyderabad for the Formula E race last week. Without wasting any time, we head straight into what it means, the lithium deposits that have been found in J&K. Kushan, if you could take our readers through it.
So I'm not a scientist or a geologist. I'm just an automotive expert. But because nowadays you talk about lithium and it's very crucial for part of the batteries that power all these electric vehicles. In India, we've always been a resource poor country. And one of the fears I've had about the move towards electrification of vehicles has been that, right now we are dependent on a bunch of petrostates, the Middle East or even Russia right now. And we move from that to being dependent on electrostates, states that control all the resources required for electric vehicles. Now, what the find in Reasi district of Jammu means of 5.9 million tons of lithium inferred resources, as they call it. I mean, this is 5.9 million tons of what will be refined lithium potentially, is that India may not need to depend on foreign countries such as Australia, Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, or even China for raw lithium.
Right.
But these are just lithium resources. It will still take a long time for the mine to come on track. If we do build a mine, I'm sure there will be environmental demands or environmental protests about building a mine in an area of scenic beauty.
Right.
That entire area is very beautiful, as you know. Plus, then you got to refine that lithium. Refining metals, any metals, whether it's lithium or iron ore or manganese or anything, is an extremely dirty process, extremely energy intensive process. And then, of course, battery manufacturing, which is completely independent, where you need many other resources. The fact is, in a modern car, whether it's a Nexon EV or a Mahindra XUV 400, each kilowatt hour of battery only uses between 70 to 80 grams of lithium. Because lithium, if you remember your periodic table from your high school chemistry, is the lightest metal. It's only got a atomic value of 3, so it's very, very light. You don't need that much lithium in every battery, but you need a lot of other things as well. You'll need copper, you'll need nickel, you'll need manganese, you'll need cobalt in NMC batteries, or iron and phosphate. And phosphates, again, we have to import phosphates for agricultural purposes. We don't have those resources. So making batteries will not be easy. We'll still need to import. But yes, having our own lithium will be a start. We will not be dependent on China.
Right. So Kushan, take our viewers through the process, because finding is one thing, but then taking it to the factory, that journey is something totally different. Is India ready for that? India's auto sector ready for it? Or do you think those resources are going to be diverted for that particular cause, or it's going to be something different?
To build an entire ecosystem around the lithium resources that we have found.
Right.
As I said, it will take 3 to 4 to even 5 years to develop the mine and develop the refining plants for this lithium. For example, the largest amount of lithium mined today is in Australia. Almost none of the lithium mined in Australia is refined in Australia. Just the raw lithium ore is taken to China and refined over there. Building refining plants are going to cost a lot of money. They're going to cost hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars.
Right.
Then building battery plants, again, more money.
Right.
It's going to be expensive, but it's also an opportunity for India to develop Indian champions. The example I will give here is that of Chinese firm BYD. They might call themselves Build Your Dreams or whatever now, but BYD is a company that operates across the value chain. They mine lithium, they refine the lithium, they make the batteries, and they make the cars. BYD is selling cars in India. They've got their first SUV on sale called the Atto 3. It's an electric car. It's available, it's assembled in Chennai, even though it's not manufactured here. And BYD has developed their own technologies. They've developed their own patents. So BYD's got a cell called the blade cell. It looks like a blade. And those blade cells are not just used by BYD. BYD sells that technology to the likes of Mercedes-Benz, like the likes of Toyota. In fact, the first Suzuki Toyota electric cars that we've been shown at the Auto Expo, the EVX, for example, from Maruti, that will use blade cell technology.
So it could be a new start. Coming back to that figure of 5.9 million tons, how do you see that? Where do you put that in larger scheme of things? The quantity of it worldwide. I mean, do you have any idea?
We are now, I think, just behind China and Australia. I think South America, there is more. Now, keep in mind, lithium is only a resource that we are hunting for actively now.
Right.
Until now, it was always you use lithium batteries, right? Your AA and AAA cells, but your average AA cell has, I think, 2 or 3 grams of lithium. So you never required all that much lithium. But now with more consumer durables and consumer electronics, and of course your phones have lithium ion batteries, your laptops do, your television, everything does. So you'll need more. 5.9 million tons would right now at least satisfy the demands of the automotive industry for the next few decades. Centuries maybe, if you include even consumer electronics such as phones and everything else. And lithium can be recycled to an extent. And I don't think it will end over here. I'm sure we will find more lithium elsewhere in the country. Of course, it's not about that, as we know with the Niyamgiri Hills when it comes to alumina and the controversy that Vedanta found itself over there. There will be issues. You can't just mine anywhere, and doing open pit mining is very environmentally damaging. So a lot of those will also need to be done. How carefully we can do the mining. But we must extract these resources. It's good for India, and we should develop these resources, and we should use this opportunity to develop our own Indian champions, whether they're going to be startups with the likes of Ola and Ather, or even companies that are part of Tata, Birla, and bigger groups. Right. We have to develop our own champions. We have to mine, refine, make the batteries ourselves.
Right. Kushan, this lithium resource are fueling India's electric car future, but do tell us, our viewers, what are the other sources of fuel when it comes to green energy powering the auto sector? So what is the kind of, or the level of dependency India has when it comes to these cells? Because if you're looking at an electric future, then the fuel storage should not, as you mentioned at the start of the show, that it should not be a repeat when like it's the case with the crude.
Yeah. Well, you need a lot more minerals. Of course, the new technology being used in most cells, the new chemistry as they call it, is lithium ferrophosphate. Ferro is, of course, iron. We have enough iron in our country. Phosphates are rarer to find. A lot of the phosphates actually are in Russia and Ukraine. So, phosphates are there across the world. It's not going to be a huge challenge. Of course, you have lithium NMC, which is nickel, manganese, and cobalt. Cobalt is a very difficult metal to extract. A lot of it comes to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is one of the poorer parts of the world. I've been to Kinshasa many years ago. It's desperately poor. And of course, there's a lot of what you call handicraft mining of cobalt, which is like blood diamonds. Right. The auto industry has to take a look at that, but that's why we are moving to ferrophosphates more and more. Chinese company CATL, which is one of the world's leading battery processors, number 2 after BYD, they are doing a lot of work in sodium ion technology. It's something that even India's Reliance Industries has looked at. Sodium is much more readily available. It's all over seawater. Sodium ion batteries, of course, will be heavier. Sodium is a heavier metal. Sodium is also very, very explosive, reacts to air very explosively, but you can make sodium ion batteries, which from a resource point of view can be much better. Of course, you're not just looking at cars, you're looking at solutions to store energy for for renewables. So, you have wind power in the day or night, or solar power in the day. Where do you store? You're going to store them in massive banks of batteries that will use lithium, that will use sodium ion. So a lot of that. So
well, that's again, I think we'll have to wait and watch to see how it progresses, the mining and the sourcing of these lithium-ion batteries, which will fuel India's future of electric cars. Coming back to the electric car, Kushan, you had the first impression of Hyundai Ioniq 5. So
but
how was it? And tell our viewers.
Oh, well, it's actually the first car under Hyundai, second actually, because if you consider the Kia EV6 is also part of the Electric Global Modular Platform, EGMP, but it's the first under the Hyundai badge. It's a very nice car drive. It's a very good looking car, as you can see in the video. Very, very well designed. It's got this parametric pixel headlights and tail lights. Very, very modern to look at. Lovely wheels. And a very nice and minimalistic interior. Lots of space. I know many people will compare it to the Kia EV6 because it's the same platform, more or less similar battery size. This has slightly more range. The Kia EV6 is sold as the GT line, which has two motors on the front and rear axle. This only has a one motor on the rear axle. And because it's going to be assembled in India, the Ioniq 5, it is significantly cheaper than the Kia. Almost 20 lakhs cheaper. So Kia, in my opinion, is a better looking car. It's I like the screen on the Kia more. But is it worth 20 lakhs more? I'm not sure. I don't think it's worth 20 lakhs.
That's something that even interests me. I think you mentioned it in the column that the price difference of 20 lakh, 65 and 45. But even if we take the figure 45, to me, it's like if you launch your, probably the second you said, but first major Hyundai badge with 45 lakh, why should Hyundai enter into the market which sort of touches the luxury segment with an EV? Do you think there is space for that?
I think Hyundai has also tasted a lot of success with the Tucson. And the Tucson is a 35 lakh rupee car, and it currently has a wait list of over 20,000 units. There is a demand for vehicles in the 30 to 50 lakh segment. And right now, your German luxury brands have all pretty much exited the sub 50 lakh segment. You get some entry level German cars for below 50 lakhs, but almost all of them are now more than 50. If I look at the Ioniq 5, it will cost more or less the same as, say, the new BMW X1. And yes, you can argue that the BMW badge is very, very powerful. It's a BMW. It costs the same as the Mercedes-Benz GLA. Now, those badges are very powerful, but you're also making a statement with the green number plate.
Right.
You're making a statement with the electric car. And in terms of feature sets, I think what you're getting on the Ioniq 5 with your advanced driver assistance system, such as lane assist or automatic braking, they're pretty big. And Kia has also been very successful with the EV6.
Right.
It's a 70 lakh rupee Kia. I would not expect a Korean car to have sold at 70 lakhs. And I think Hyundai and Kia are both trying this out now. And I will not be surprised if Hyundai Motor Company in India launches the Genesis brand, which is their luxury brand. It is
right.
Just like Lexus is to Toyota, Genesis is to Hyundai and Kia, because, the cars are becoming more expensive and people want modern cars. So I think Hyundai, they're already hitting 700 orders for this car, and the introductory price has already been met for the first 500. I'm sure by the time the car actually goes on sale in May, June, by the time first delivery start, they would be hitting 1,000 orders, maybe 1,500 by the end of the year.
But Kushan, would it be wrong to say that a lot of different automakers are approaching electric in different way, even in terms of the price segment they are starting off with, like the Tatas have come down to Tiago and making an affordable Tiago available for Indians. But then if you look at Hyundai, it's going into the 40-45 lakh range. Why is it that different car makers are approaching the electric market with different...
I think because you have different buyers now. You have people who are going to use this as a daily commuter. You want to be comfortable in the car. You want a good audio system. And you want people who just look at it as a short distance commuter or for commercial vehicle purposes.
Right.
So I also recently drove the Citroën EC3, which is the electric version of the C3. And that, when I spoke to Roland Bouchara, who's the boss of Stellantis India, he said that we are really aggressively looking at the taxi segment.
Right.
So of course you're going to get a bit of both. I think Tata with the entry-level Tiago and the entry-level Nexon and Tigor are targeting the commercial segment. But consumers who are spending, and there are a significant number of consumers who can spend 40 to 50 lakhs and they want something not so basic.
Which the Ioniq 5
Which the Ioniq 5 is,
sort of serves. Well, that was for Ioniq 5. Moving on to the next electric that we promised towards the start of the show. Kushan, you were in Hyderabad last week, and how was the Formula E?
It was interesting. I mean, I did not go as an accredited journalist this time. Deliberately so, I could have if I wanted to, but I said, let me just watch the race as a fan. Sat in the stands. And, well, you know, a lot of the little things weren't done properly. Water was tough to come by. Food was tough to come by. I mean, I had everybody who had sitting in the grandstand had a little goodie bag with a can of Red Bull and, a food voucher, but you couldn't get a lot of things. I mean, a lot of teething problems, and the viewership experience was not that great. I mean, certain things were done right. Of course, the podium could be accessed. You could go there. But, where you were sitting near the start-finish line, the views weren't great. I mean, there were some great views towards the end of the straight where some of my friends sat. A lot more needs to be done for the next race. Hyderabad has a contract till 2026 for a Formula E race. So let's hope they get it right.
So it wasn't actually worth the hype, you're saying, because we discussed it at...
we discussed it in our last show. I didn't think it was really hyped up as much as it could have been, and I'm glad. But a lot of fans had a lot of difficulty. I think it could be better organized, and a lot of local Hyderabadis complained about the fact that the center of the city was shut down on Friday and Saturday because of blocking the roads that go through Hussain Sagar Lake, which are main thoroughfares. Maybe next time around a bit better planning could be done. A lot of it obviously felt like it was a politically, done race because KCR and his son KTR, who was the main inspiration behind the race, wanted to use it to promote themselves a bit. There was some protocol issues at the podium with KTR and Anurag Thakur. We'll talk about that in another story, baby.
Yeah, maybe.
But it could be better organized. I hope they get their act together for next year's race.
Well, here is a fan who is dejected, who has come out dejected.
I won't say dejected. I'd say it could be better.
It could be better. Okay. With that, we wrap up this episode of The Print Dashboard. Thank you, Kushan.
Thanks, Anurag.
Thank you.